Okay, next up is time to do the machining on the workpiece here in the mill to put the index and jig, and it'll be a matter of drilling for the accessories now, which would be the handles, the different things that will go on here for the drive bars and stuff like that, and the clamping mechanism, clamping block. So what I'll do now is I'll get things set up now in the milling machine on the index and jig. Okay, here's one way for a quick preliminary setup. I want to square this up with a table movement. So in order to reach this, I can use a square, but I don't want to use the base of the index and jig because I know that that's just a cast iron casting, but the reference of a index and jig would be the face of it right here. That would be an indexing area. So I take a 1, 2, 3 block and put that tight against the face, and then take my square and square off the front of the table. I can now move this in position and tighten up the bolts here a little bit and get that into a preliminary check, or preliminary squareness, and that will just get me within the ballpark, and then I can start from there. I can begin to do the fine adjustments by putting a bar in here, a drill rod that's nice and straight, and then do my final adjustments using a dial indicator, a test indicator, to get that in there. Okay, I have you zoomed in on the dial indicator. This is just after the pre-adjustment. As I go along the drill rod here, I'm at about maybe 1/1000th of an inch, but there's no linear movement. It's just a single movement and then stops. So, and now it's just starting to climb a little bit now. So that's not too bad for a preliminary. So come back. That's at about 4 to 6 inches, and it's still staying pretty steady. So it just takes a small amount of fine adjustment now to get that in. Okay, after a quick fine tuning, we're pretty much spot on. I only have to go about 4 inches on my workpiece, and I'm pretty close to that now. I'm staying zeroed on there really nice. So I would say that's ready to go. Okay, now that's the first step in getting the index and jig lined up to be parallel with the x-axis table movement. That's the first step. The second step now will be to put a small collet in here to accept a small 1/8 inch bar or some sort of pointing device, because now I want to eyeball up the center of the spindle of the 5C collar itself now. And I don't want to use this because that's flat, and I need a pointy device. So by putting a different collet in here, a small collet, I can put a small pointing device in there. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. Alright, for the pointing device, I'll use a small 1/8 inch center drill. I'll be able to use that now to line up on the y-axis. I'll put that in the jig, tighten it up, and then we'll get the index and jig lined up now at the center of the spindle. Okay, so now it's time to get the y-axis lined up. Alright, so what I can do now this doesn't have to be super accurate, because I only need to get it close. If I only need to get it very, very tight tolerance, then of course I'd have to use indicators and dial indicators and stuff like that. But I just have to get as close as possible by eye. So that's what I'll do now. I'll get my magnifying glass and work this in to get as close as I can possibly get it by eye. And you can see how that's the step that I'm using to bring the y-axis in. So now the center of the spindle of the indexing jig is now on center of the spindle of the mill. The indexing jig is now lined up parallel with the x-axis movement. And now the third step would be to put the workpiece itself in by changing the collet out and putting the collet in now to hold the workpiece itself. And that's coming up next. Alright, set that to 0, lock it in, good and tight. Okay, I do want to make some witness marks. And the first one comes down from the top over here. It'll come down 250 thousandths. That will be the first screw hole. And then from there it's another 50 thousandths, which would be 3/4 now. Be 3/4 of an inch. And that'll be the second hole. I'm using some witness marks there to work off of, just to double check whenever I go to put the dial indicator on there. Okay, so now we're set back up in the mill again, nice and tight. I can edge find off the front here now. Okay, I'm on my line. Okay, the next movement now is the y-axis in this direction here, and that will be off of center. That will come over 510 thousandths. 510 thousandths. Lock that in position. And then I'll start my first drilling. It'll be right here. And drill and tap, and then come down this way here another 50 thousandths or 500 thousandths, and then do a drill and tap, and then come back over this way here 1 inch 20 thousandths, and continue on. And this will be the clamping bracket on top. Okay, that gets drilled at tap at 1032. Alright, that's the first hole. Okay, now to keep everything registered in the same X position this way here, I will do the next hole, which is on the same line here, by going with the y-axis back the other direction now, that 1 inch 20 thousandths. That way there, it'll keep both holes on the same parallel axis this way here, and there will not be any kind of a misalignment. So now I need to go 1 inch 20 thousandths on the y-axis. One inch 20 thou. Lock that in position. And again, just repeat the same process. Okay, now that I have both of these holes drilled on the same plane right here, now I can move my x-axis, that 500 thousandths of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 thou. Lock the table. And what that allows me to do now is have the next set of holes be on the same exact plane with each other. If by going in this sequence here, I make sure that the holes are in line with each other the way they need to be. They can be offset this way here, back and forth, as long as both holes are offset together. As long as they're on the same plane this direction, that's all that matters. This way here is not critical, but this way here it is, and that's why I had to do it in that sequence. Okay, and now the last sequence here. Come back this way here again at inch 20 thousandths. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. 1 inch, 10, and 20 thousandths. Lock the table. And begin the process for the last hole. Alrighty, there we go. We have the screw set in there temporary right now. Now in the final assembly, the threads cannot go past the inside here. That has to remain flush here all the way around, so that the router motor fits in there snugly and properly. But I'm just testing this here to see how far down I can get these before they protrude, and see if I have enough grip here to work. And it looks like it's going to work. It looks like I have enough threads in there for that to work. So these are going to be screwing down a clamping block. Eventually this here will get sliced down the center here a little bit to make a clamp, and the clamping block will be these screws will clamp a clamping block on, and then a screw going across here this direction to do all the clamping. Next up now will be to do the holes that will receive these here guide bars right here. And we just finished doing these holes here, and now we're moving over to the side here, which is 90 degrees now. So I need to turn my indexing jig now 90 degrees. Right now on 0, I'll turn it 90 degrees. Maybe go the other direction here. Get that to 90 degrees here. And then I'll start drilling down here now, the proper distance from the front back, and get those holes lined up, get those two holes drilled, and then turn 180 degrees and do the other side, and that will be the holes drilled to receive these here blocks here. And that's what's coming up next. Okay, now the next step in this process is, since these holes here are going to be on the center line of the workpiece, as these were offset from the center line, these are going to be on center. So therefore, remember we moved our y-axis. We moved that there 510 thousandths off the center here. So now we're going to come back now that 510 thousandths on the y-axis now. 510 thousandths. Lock the table. And then I'll just double check on here to make sure that I am on center. And then we start moving down this way and start doing our drilling. Okay, from the top down to the center of the first hole is 2" 310 thou. I moved my table down that 2" 310 thou, and I end up right here. Now I need to double check something here. I need to make sure that whenever I'm drilling that I'm coming into the solid area down through here now. Remember, I bored this out so that I can have a solid area here. This up front here is hollow. The screws come through. The screws cannot come through here. They have to come into the solid area here now. And so the way to check that would be to use a gauge here like this and gauge this into the solid like that, and then to check it. As you can see, we're clearing. The bit is about maybe a 1/4 inch past, and that's what we want. So we are going to be drilling into the solid area, and that's what we're checking for. Okay, so we go through our steps to double check here. Okay, there's our dimensions that we're looking for. We moved our y-axis, that 510 thousandths, back so that we can get our center of our spindle on the center of our workpiece, so that checks out. Number 2, we moved our x-axis from the front here back to here according to our dimensions that are written here, so we got that checked out. And number 3, we have our indexing jig turned the 90 degrees from the original, and that checks out. So now everything checks out, and we're now ready to start doing the drilling for the next part of this now. Okay, another way to use the indexing jig also would be, if I want to keep everything on the same line again like we did before, I don't have to keep on changing the bits out. I can just turn the indexing jig. So now I need to go another 90 or another 180 now off of this. So keeping the bit in there, I can now go from 90 to 270 here. And that puts me 180 now. That puts me 180 from the bottom here. And then I can do my drilling again. Okay, next hole down now is 630 thousandths on the x-axis. Alrighty. Okay, here's what we got. These screws here are for the clamping block, and then the screws 90 degrees from here and here will be for the guide bars as well as the handles. I now need to machine out a slot all the way around down through here for air for the motor, and then from there I'll have this little bit right here left, and then that will get cut across here, a slot cut across this way. so that the clamping blocks can clamp that as a clamp. So the clamp will actually start around in this area here. I get all this milled out right through here now, and then the clamp will actually be just this ring right around the top here only. And that's coming up next.